You've heard stories of COVID virus haircuts. Well, these next few videos contain pictures of me with bangs that I cut since my salon was closed. I don't like them. And it reminds me of the times Becky got her bangs cut and didn't like them and had to wait for them to grow out. So that's what's going on with these.
Hi, welcome to another installment of The Adventures of Becky and Kathy. Today, we're going to read more about Becky's elementary school animals. But first, other cats. Chapter 8. Disney, Kit Kat, and the Obtuse TA. I used to love cats. Not that our family ever owned one. My dad would get mad if I petted a stray cat. He'd said they would give me ringworm. Here's a picture of Becky and me with our stuffed animals, my cat and her dog, Kit Kat and Disney. And I'm sure Clarence is on the ground by Becky's feet. I got Kit Kat for Easter. She came sitting in a little basket. That week I took her to show and tell. We had a visiting TA, teacher's assistant. I showed the class how Kit Kat could sit in her basket or put the basket on her head as a bonnet. Afterward, I took her up to my teacher and the TA to show them Kit Kat and how the basket could be used. I held up the basket to the TA and said, "See?" And she said, "Oh, is that for me?" I quickly became flustered. I had not yet fully developed my inner Kathy assertiveness, so my inner Becky sweetness came out, and I said, "Yes," and I handed it to her. She was completely obtuse to the predicament she had put me in. Obtuse, slow in perception. Obtuse, insensitive in perception. And as you can tell, I've never quite gotten over it. Now let's move on to Becky's animals, the rest of the ones she had in elementary school, and how Kathy's love of cats developed into fear. Chapter 11. Becky and her animals, grammar school. You've heard about Cochisa, that was Becky's first horse. Then there were Fred and Ethel, her rooster and chicken. Poopsie, that was the cat they had in their house, kind of a fat cat. She had Nathaniel later on, that was the first of her rats, and rabbits. Here's a picture of Becky and I in our local paper with our rabbits. Looks like Becky and Kathy with rabbits, right? Which leaves Zeke and barn cats. Zeke was a dog her oldest brother John brought home. I've been informed I can use his name now, John. Zeke was not a puppy. He was a young Australian shepherd, rather skittish. Becky would have been a great animal trainer for movies. Once in a while, her creative dark side would come out, kind of like Alfred Hitchcock coming up with creative ways to use birds in scenes. For instance, something as simple as "let's feed the dogs" evolved into great fun for her. She said, "I'll feed Clarence," mild-mannered, perfect Clarence, "and you feed Zeke." Halfway through their bowls of food, Becky said, "I forgot to tell you, Zeke's on a diet. Now you need to take her bowl away from her," which I did, and to which Zeke responded by butting me hard in my rear end. Becky was quite amused. And then there were the barn cats at Mr. Wycliffe's ranch. As you know, I used to love cats. But barn cats ate mice in front of me and gave me ringworm. One day Becky handed me a stick of red licorice. She advised I should share it with the cats as she was doing. I said, "No, I'm going to eat my licorice." We were in an empty horse stall. When Becky was done feeding the cats, they turned to me, pawing in the air with their long claws, hissing As I stood in the middle of that stall, they circled around me on the ledge. Then they began leaping out at me, for me, claws out, making cat-screeching roars. Becky sat laughing. She was quite amused until finally I threw the rest of my licorice on the floor and ran. That was the point I quit thinking cats were beautiful. In my mind, they went from this to this. Thank you for joining me again. Eventually, barn cats did for me what my dad could not, keep me from wanting to ever own a cat. Our story of the adventure of barn cats with Becky doesn't show her in the very best light. And so next time, join me for another adventure. And this time it's going to be the adventure of Becky Saves Kathy. Becky saved Kathy many times. And as you know, she tried to save me from the junior high bully. But next time, we're going to be 18 years old. If you want to watch any more of our adventures, please go to kathyamplified.com where they are all posted. Like, share, follow if you would. And remember, be a loyal friend. The blessings last a lifetime.